You ready for this? All right. The statements issued by hosts, co-hosts, guests, and anyone else appearing on the show do not reflect the stance of the College of New Jersey or the NJDOE OSE. Please use your professional judgment when implementing strategies and resources within your practice. Welcome back to TCNJ AT Talks. We are the podcast affiliated with the Assistive Technology Center at TCNJ. We're here to inform, educate, and empower our listeners about assistive technology. I'm your host, Brian Kenyon, owner of Kenyon Learning and Consulting. And in this episode, we're honored to speak with Molly Ziegler, an incredible speech-language pathologist, an SLP, who specializes in empowering individuals with traumatic brain injuries and multiple disabilities through robust and personally meaningful communication. We'll dive into how AAC supports identity, exploration, quality of life, and self-advocacy, and hear Molly's insights on working with individuals and their families.
Hello, welcome back. This is Madison from the AT Center. We're glad to have you back on our podcast. You meaning the listeners and Molly meaning our guest.
You knew.
And Molly, can you briefly give a little introduction about yourself, maybe your background, passion?
Yeah, I'm so happy to. Hello everyone. Thank you for that. I feel like your intro really covered it. I do, as you said, specialize in working with the population of people with TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, other brain disorders, and multiple disabilities. I'm an SLP, as you said, and I'm also an assistive technology professional. And I actually did that with Maddie. We studied and became ATPs together. So that's
Yep.
some good background. And yeah, I work at a specialized school, and I also do my own work on the side. And so that has just given me a really interesting insight into how to take all the amazing therapeutic stuff we do and make sure that it is brought to the outside world as well. So that's a little bit about me.
Cool. All right. So we're going to start off with our listener mailbag. This question comes to us from a high school special education teacher in Southern New Jersey. They wrote, "Hi, Brian, Vanessa, and Madison, and Molly. I co-teach in an inclusive biology class. We have a student who uses a robust AAC device to communicate, and he's brilliant. My concern is that while he uses it well for direct questions, I struggle to involve him in faster-paced group discussions and collaborative lab work. The other students are sometimes unsure how to interact, and the conversation often moves on before he has a chance to compose his messages. It feels like he's being left out of the most dynamic parts of class." So I think Molly and Madison, as the experts in this area, what strategies can they use to structure their group activities to ensure the student can participate meaningfully and fully with his peers?
I feel like that's such a good question. And I love hearing a teacher being so thoughtful and like really and inclusive and just thinking like, how is this going to work for each and every student in my class? The first thing that came to mind for me was like, if these discussions are like pre-planned or like have questions that student would potentially have access to them beforehand, and would, again, I don't know his level of independence with it or what's going on, but just that he'd have the chance to um, compose his thoughts and answers, share his opinions, and like gather all of that info prior to the discussion. Yeah, I think that's always the good first go-to solution is how can we just kind of give someone more time to prepare, because the amount of time they need to think on their feet is way less changeable than what we can do structurally to make sure that they are given more time. Um, I don't know what you'd say, Maddie.
Definitely. I love that answer. And kind of going off of that, I would definitely educate the other students on how to best support his communication and giving him that time to generate his messages, as well as the teacher themselves, really building that into their lesson and their educational model. And, as Molly said, providing those materials in advance is really good way to like kind of level that playing field and create an inclusive environment for that student.
Cool. Is if someone can't provide the materials in advance, because sometimes it's day of or something like that, is there any other ways that we could help that student with their AAC?
Think like again, I'm still working from this like bigger structural place, but like if the student even got like, oh, if it's more day of, if like right at the start of the lesson or something of like the teacher's like, hey, we're going to start with this question. Like, why don't you take this amount of time to think about it and then kind of be the one to open it up, or just finding a way like, is there a time where the student can be thinking about it, composing it, and preparing for it while everyone else is doing something else. And I think Maddie hit the nail on the head of like, there's just a reality that like we all, educators, anyone working with AC, like need to improve our comfort with like waiting and with silence. And that is just another unchangeable reality that we all can adjust to.
Definitely. And another interesting point I could throw in there, we've been doing some research in accordance with AI and um, how it can help AAC users and AAC programs. And there's a program in particular I heard about. It's called ALEC, AlecAssist.com, I think. And it's a text-based AAC software that actually listens to the conversation and will help that user generate messages maybe that they can edit, just that might accelerate the rate of communication and might make it easier for that individual. So of course, if this individual is used to using a specific software, um, that works for that student. But this is just like another option that's out there, and something that might change and develop in the future, which is really interesting.
That's really cool. I need to plug from there, but I need to get my resources in check. But we had someone come who was working on that, but essentially for a more social purpose, like jokes of like it's an AI software that like listens to the conversation and like will generate kind of like one-liners that someone has really quick access to.
That's so
So
cool.
because that is such a key part of those interactions and just feeling not even feeling included, but just expressing yourself. And I think it's so cool that AI is giving us potential, those potentials.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. AI, we keep talking about it, but AI is going to be huge for our students and just consumers in general, not just
Absolutely.
AAC, but everyone. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Those are some excellent answers. Thank you, guys. If any of you, the listeners, would like to submit a question or leave a SpeakPipe message, if you can please visit atcenter.tcnj.edu, and at the top there's a podcast tab, and underneath that podcast tab you'll find the necessary links in order to either choose a SpeakPipe or submit a Google form. Cool. So
And
let's
those
get
are
in.
also linked. Sorry, Brian. Those
Yeah.
are also linked on our an Instagram link tree. So in the bio of our Instagram, which is AT Center TCNJ, um, there's a link tree, and you can find both of those links there as well.
Cool. Good. I didn't know that. That's new. Thank you.
Yep.
You guys are doing
Cool.
awesome stuff. I just got to say,
Thank you.
Thank you.
it's really great.
So Molly, we had talked before, and you mentioned your bio. You're from Chicago. You attended
Mhm.
Marquette University. What led you to New York City, and then also specializing in AT, assistive technology?
Thank you. Great questions. I've always been drawn to New York, and like funny enough, it was a relationship that I'm no longer in that got me out here. So I'm always grateful for that. Like there's a time and place for everything. And and then the next question was getting into AC.
Yeah.
So then the job that I ended as I was moving, relocating here, interviewing different places, I was so drawn to here because of it's like I was like, oh my gosh, almost everyone has an AC device. Um, these access methods that I'd never even been exposed to in grad school or in my first few years of working. I was just like hungry for all the newest information, and the chance to work with students who have like needs and have skills that like you truly it is very special to get time to encounter and connect with. So I was just very drawn to the newness of it all and kind of the complexity of it all, and I was just like wow, and like the fact exactly what we were saying earlier in our conversation, AAC is just like it's so the future. And I think it is felt really cool to be, invited in somewhere where there's such a heavy emphasis on that and there's so much learning to be done.
For sure. Thank you. Those were some great answers. Kind of going into some more personal about you questions. You have a fascinating range of hobbies, as we know, as I
Right.
know, from fashion and styling to volleyball. How, if at all, do these interests influence your work, your approach to working with individuals and their families in the AT field? And you could speak on how, having such passionate interests helps
Mhm.
you help individuals find their interests and really express those.
Totally. This is such a thoughtful, amazing question. I really appreciate it. And I think you once again hit the nail on the head at the end there of like, I have almost always felt like scatterbrained of like, I'm drawn to so many different things. Like, what what on earth should I do? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I found a job that is now a skill of like dipping my hands into everything, like allows me to help expose someone else to like these whole wide range of things. And I'm like, oh, because like I'm interested in all these different things, I can really like explain, show, teach someone about them. And like I don't have to have this like robust, like this is my hobby I do every day, but I'm like, here's things I'm into. Why don't you check them out? So that's been a fun, like, personal reframe in my life or just feeling like I'm in the right place. And then styling Maddie. Well, first of all, Maddie's my fashion inspo. Like she is
No, no,
the
no, no.
most. So
It's
I
all
love getting to
you.
talk about this with you. Um, and I'd say especially since starting to work here at iHope, where a lot of students are non-ambulatory, like are dependent or interdependent on others for to get a lot of their basic needs met. A lot of students maybe don't even eat by mouth. Where like getting dressed is this one like guaranteed routine with their family. It's this one like guarantee of self-expression. And it's like the one thing that you do every day where you get to be like, here's me, here's who I am, here's something I like. And like it's just and that's so special. Like, I know it's special to me, and I when I'm, like, pointing things out to the students, they're always like, "Oh my gosh, someone" you know how it feels when someone, like, notices your socks, you're like, "Oh." Um, and I think a lot of the families, for those reasons, again, if they're like, like, I don't get to share meals with my child in the way that I maybe expected to or anticipated to, but like I get to like help them get dressed every day. We get to pick things out together. And I think there's a lot of sense of pride in making sure that the student is again wearing things that fit their personality, like looking great. So I just think it's a really special like area that kind of transcends, like, disability and needs, like, music and clothes, it's like, that's for absolutely everybody
For
in any
everybody. Yeah.
possible way, so that has been really fun.
I have a follow-up question to that,
Yeah.
actually. Thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
How does having a robust vocabulary on the student's AAC device, how does that help them express themselves in these different ways?
Oh my gosh, like, express themselves in these more creative ways or just kind of generally?
Yeah, like you were saying, like picking out their outfits, maybe
Yes.
choosing what kind of music they want to listen to.
Yes.
Like,
Um, Really good question. I think exactly what you said of it needs to be robust in the fact that it's, like, not limiting, it's
yes,
continually
sorry, I didn't
no,
define what robust meant.
no, I'm, like, walking through it to, like, help
Yeah,
myself answer the question.
walk
Like,
us through
I'm walking through
it.
it 'cause, like, it's going to help me explain myself of,
Oh,
like,
totally.
that you want the options to not be limiting, you want it to be, um, exposing them to things that maybe they wouldn't even, like, incidentally encounter, like, the things that our students maybe come across because the nature of, like, the schools they've been to or just the way that their lives are, like, there's so much bringing of the world to them that they are owed and that we need to be doing, so making sure it's robust in that sense of, like, "Oh, we're making sure you're getting exposed to a lot of different ideas and things," and I think to answer Maddie's question, the like it being personally meaningful is going to be the most important things of like, okay, if someone is, no matter how they're accessing their communication, their favorite outfits, their favorite colors, the parts of their outfit they like to style, like, do they have options and opportunity in choosing those things, like kind of knowing what's the most important for them to have a say in? And do the people who are working with them, supporting them, know how to help them make choices in that area?
Yes.
So I think those are the things that need to be in place.
Awesome.
I actually have a follow-up to that follow-up.
Let's keep
So
following
how do
up.
you
You guys are
how do
following
you
me crazy.
how do you go about discovering what's meaningful for an individual that has
Oh,
complex communication needs?
this is the best part, I'd say, and I feel like Maddie can likely attest to this. Like some of the coolest, most amazing discoveries are like, we obviously did not plan that. This had nothing like you're on like kind of a like tangent in a class discussion and some suddenly a one student gets like so excited about like garlic and then you find out like oh my god their dad's a chef and it's actually something that they're like exposed to all the time and like whoa they're actually really into like smells and like all the aspects that go into that or like oh my gosh a random song came on YouTube like after the ad and this student freaked out and you're like I didn't know you liked house music, like, wait, and it's just like and that's what I'm saying of, like, the incidentally, like, learning things, like, I think that's such a gift that we get to give to people and provide to people. It's like, let's tell you about things, let's make sure things are happening around you
Let's
so that
narrate
you
your
have a chance.
environment, your world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that you have a chance to respond to it, um, in whatever way, obviously, but in a way that's gonna help inform other people about, like, what you're into, what you're not.
Awesome.
It's coming across that you're so passionate for this work.
Yeah.
Like expanding on what we just talked about. I know it's like
Yeah.
another follow-up to the follow-up to the follow-up. Was there a particular moment, a specific individual you worked with that said, "Man, this is the job for me. I want to be an AAC specialist or an SLP and a AT specialist, and serving those with traumatic brain injuries." Was there something that stands out to you?
Totally. I'd say I had a student my first year when I started working here, where I started again day one with Maddie. Um, and I worked with a student all year. She was actually graduating, so leaving, like aging out of the school system. So I my first year here was her last year here. So I kind of had to like figure out her communication, learn about communication and access methods in general, and get her like feeling ready to go. So I was like, like under a wave all year. And then I got to keep working with her once she's graduated. So like after school or kind of like on the side. And I think that experience of just seeing how everything is translating or not translating is was totally like mind blowing for me because I'm like, oh my gosh, you've been here for years and years and years. You know how to do partner assisted scanning. You have this high tech, robust communication system that you access. I'm like, we've never had enough time to teach anyone you're spending your days with how this all really works. And like your family's so interested in it, they want to know, but I'm like, there wasn't enough time. Like there wasn't. And so it just really taught me the value of like there needs to be time, dedicated time to work on this. And like technology and communication has to be a fit for when it's an individual who is like interdependent or relying on other people for certain needs and likely always will in certain capacities. It has to be a fit for like their entire ecosystem of home and not just like it has to balance their communicative potential, current capabilities, and who is around them. So it just really opened my mind to just like this is so much more than like the skills an individual has, but like how is their again whole ecosystem going to support them and work with them and working with her family just really opened up my mind to like the possibilities there and how we need so much more dedicated time to have these like big conversations.
Yeah, there's like so much more than just that direct service model.
Yeah.
Um, And like you were saying, there's really not enough time to fulfill all these components that are really important to ensuring the success of the student, like using the AT, as especially as they transition out of the school age um population into their adulthood, and really ensuring that there's carryover, and um that they continue to thrive.
Totally.
So that's such a really good point and a great conversation to have.
Yeah. Um, and something kind of just came up as you were talking about this, but I was thinking like how even in a lot of my writing now, when I'm writing about like uh, IEPs or anything about like what supports a student needs, it's like, oh my gosh, these are now like they need not only access to like the communication itself, but like to these supports, and to have access to these supports or the way that someone's working with them. Like that person needs to be trained, that person needs to understand that these are the necessary supports. So seeing it as that whole picture of like they need both this and someone who knows how to do it with them, someone who knows how to support it. So it's really on us to both like figure out what that looks like and like execute and make sure that happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey listeners, Brian from the future here. Due to the incredibly rich and insightful conversation we had with Molly, we've decided to split this episode into a few shorter, digestible parts. This was just too much valuable information to fit into one, so stay tuned for more of Molly's wisdom coming your way soon. And that's a wrap on another episode of AT Talks. A huge thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. We love making this podcast and building this community with all of you. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. The team at the Assistive Technology Center at TCNJ is dedicated to supporting educators across New Jersey. If you were inspired by today's discussion and want to bring high-quality, free professional development to your district, Vanessa and Madison are ready to help. To learn how you can partner with the center and build capacity in your school, head over to our website. You can find all the information you need at atcenter.tcnj.edu. And while you're there, we want to hear from you. Visit the podcast tab. There you can send us a question through our Google form, or even better, leave us a voice message on SpeakPipe for us to play live on the show. Be sure to follow us on social media to stay up to date on all our latest events and resources. You can find us on Instagram and YouTube with the handle @ATCenterTCNJ. And don't forget to subscribe to AT Talks on whatever platform you're listening on right now so you never miss an episode. On behalf of Vanessa, Madison, and myself, Brian, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.